Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Monday Night Magic of 2023. I'm Lori Falk, one of the co-hosts with my amazing friend, Ken Close. We are, bar none, your favorite epigenetic geeks. Ken calls himself an epigeneer, and I am a health and wellness coach who focuses specifically on the science of epigenetics. So that's often the magical rabbit hole that we run down in these Monday Night Magics. So tonight we want to focus on powering your potential for the coming year. We're going to talk about intentions and emotions and gratitude for last year that creates the right attitude for this year, and all kinds of wonderful things to help you set an intention and get into the mindset and the heart space that's going to create the most magical year you've had yet.
I love that. And so, yes, as Lori said, thank you for joining us. Here we are, your favorite epigenetic and epigenetic geeks. We've launched a new little, well, we had a great, I love the picture that we had on our other advertising. You know, it was Lori and I at Orlando during the festivities of the night, and we took this picture together. And so we're building some new stuff for this coming year. 2023 is brand new. And tonight we're going to really blast into creating intentions, setting intentions, what that means in terms of the physics of the writing of the intention, but also, and that's Lori's expertise, but also the physical, metaphysical, emotional, and mental aspects of what it does from the genetic side. So when you're creating an intention, we're going to unpack what that means. And for a very, very distinct reason, I believe that if we assign enough value to anything, we'll do it. Right? If we have enough value in it, we will actually perform the act. So if I can help you guys understand the value of how an intention shifts from just words, whether it's spoken or written, to actually a epigenetic influence at the cell level of your body. That's what we're going to do. Does that sound fun? I like it.
Absolutely.
So if I could, I'd like to start with what one of the most things what I like to do is create principles. And if we just take the word intention, what's that mean? I mean, just the definition, you look at the dictionary, it just says a thing intended. Okay, that's pretty simple, right? It's an aim or a plan. Again, very basic. How many times have you ever had an aim or a plan and you missed it? So it's like, okay, that's not bad. But it's not good if we really are trying to make a shift or a change in our lives. So an intention is really a little bit more than that. From a deeper epigenetic understanding, it's more of a mental state. It actually is a mental state of the host, which literally commits themselves to a course of action. All right. So this is an intention. We have a mental state in which the host, AKA the one holding this mental state or this thought or this concept, commits themselves to a course of action. And so having a plan, say to, I don't know, pick some of the New Year's resolutions, maybe put some things in the chat. What are some of the New Year's resolutions or intentions that one might have made? Now, I know none of you guys really get into that New Year's resolution thing, right? But when you did, or maybe you know somebody who does, put some of the examples in the chat of what some of those intentions might have been. And again, I'm not a huge fan of this New Year's resolution idea, but it is a big thing in some people's mind because it gives it a permission. It gives one permission to actually set a goal. And then how many times have you heard people not keep up on their goal? So the subconscious is also given permission to abandon that goal. So this is why New Year's resolutions don't always give the biggest, they don't really have a lot of meaning to me, but there's one in the chat there, lose weight, right? read books, read more books, maybe become healthier, make more money. I don't know. Some of those things might be some of the New Year's resolutions. But these are examples, they're great examples. But if they're just a thought, then if we understand what the mind's purpose is, how many of you guys know what the mind's purpose is? No, it's not to insult you. No, it's not to derail you. No, the mind's purpose at the very fundamental elementary state is to make internal sense of an external world. Okay, think about that. Write that down. It is to make an internal understanding of what it's seeing on the external. So in other words, how many times have you looked out the window and said, in your mind, you didn't say it out loud, look out the window and say, oh, you have a thought that says it's raining, right? It's raining. Well, we know that it's raining. We can see it's raining because our eyes take this information in, but the mind has to say, it has to say it. There's this little inner voice that goes, it's raining. You're like, well, duh. Well, this is just a simple mind's job to make sense of what's going on outside of us, on the inside of us, explaining it, rehearsing it, picking it apart, and then giving us a redundant, constant reminder in the dialogue within our brain. So the mind's job is simply to make sense from an internal perspective of what's going on outside of us. So if we have a mental picture of a goal, lose weight, read more books, make more money, get out of debt, whatever it is, and we're in a happy state in the moment that we create that plan, then we'll call that equation X. But the moment we get into an unhappy state and we start rehearsing that plan, we're going to call that the state of Y, because all of a sudden the value in achieving that goal goes in the toilet because we're unhappy, we're less motivated, and the mind will make up, or I should say the mind will find justification to tell you it's okay. You can start tomorrow. Don't worry about it. And so this content within the mind is malleable, constantly being shifted, changed, adjusted, even edited. And neuroscience shows and says that probably 50%, it's a little more than that, 50% of what you believe is true in the mind is actually made up, is not true. It's embellished. The blanks are filled in because the brain does not want to be wrong. So when it's recalling an incident from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even last year, it will start filling in the blanks when you're trying to come up with details. And typically those blanks are embellished, right? That fish that I caught, last year that I said was like this big, right? I got this fish this big, but it's like, So anyway, we embellish things. The mind does this for us, not as a punishment, not as a lie, but just as a feel-good mechanism, so that we can be correct or we can look good in our own eyes, the mind's eye. So when you set an intention or a New Year's resolution, in the moment, you're motivated. Maybe you had a couple of cocktails. I don't know. But the point is, it seemed like a great idea. And then later on, the mind starts to give you leniency to negate it or to ignore it altogether. And so when we're creating an intention, there needs to be more than just a thought. And Lori is the expert on building the written content, the pieces, the components, the principles of what this intention should include. But I'm going to tell you about the physical, the emotional, and the mental aspects that really need to be part of this intention as well, so that we can shift and build an epigenetic influence to the tune of 800,000 cells per second. When there's a quiz, so write that down. At the end of this call, we're going to have a little quiz. How many cells per second are being recreated in your body? How many? 800,000. Okay, so you'll know by the time that we're done, you're going to have enough value in your own body's apparatus or operating system that when you create an intention, you'll put the right components together. Does that make sense? All right, so Laura, you want to talk about the pieces of these intentions.
Yeah, and I want to kind of follow up with the fact that you were mentioning how you don't really like writing intentions or resolutions, and I don't either. But here's the thing, and we all know this. We are energy, and like energy attracts like energy. So whatever energy you're putting out is what you're going to attract back. So you can move through 2023 one of two ways, either consciously or unconsciously. And if you do it unconsciously, then where you end up at the end of the year may not be exactly where you wanted to be. Rather, take a moment, slow down, and think about it. Do you really want to passively let 12 months slip by? Or do you want to feel, think and feel, and get into that state of, let's pretend it's the end of 2023. Let's pretend it's New Year's Eve 2023. How do you want to feel? What do you want to think about? What do you want to be grateful for when you reflect back on 2023? And then get deliberate about wanting to embody that and wanting to make that a part of the frequency that you are sending out to the world every single day. Food for thought, nonetheless. So how do you want to evolve? What do you want to change? What characteristics do you want to develop further? I want to learn how to use Zoom better. I know that's just a teeny one, but Ken and I were talking about some of the things we wanted to learn about Zoom. So that's why I mentioned it. But there really are some basic principles of creating intentions. And I'll put them in the chat. It's super simple. There's really 3 principles. It must be positively phrased. It must be stated in the present tense. And it absolutely should always describe how you will feel when the desired objective is achieved. How will you feel? Because if every thought or word is a prayer that we're energetically sending out to the universe, every emotion is an even stronger prayer. It's like emotions are words on steroids. They have so much energetic punch that when you send an emotion out, it's going to attract things back so much quicker. So when I'm working with people in my coaching programs, and the hardest thing after a year and a half of teaching these programs with the Healy, the hardest thing for people is to figure out really how to write these intentions. But even beyond that, it's really about understanding that the Healy isn't reading what you put into it. And the universe isn't reading your words alone. Mm-hmm. If you can get out of your head and into your heart, into that heart space, and really, 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 really imagine what you're going to be feeling when that desired objective is achieved, and send that out and get into that space before you ever consider hitting the analysis button in the Healy coaching module. Because P.S., it's a German company, and the Healy's first language is German, not English. So it really isn't going to read what you're putting in the word section. But if you can give it a definitive difference between where you're currently at and where you want to be at, now it can find the gap between those 2 points. It's like 2 different points on a timeline, your current timeline and your future timeline. It can now find everything that's in the way, preventing you from being at this level. Mm-hmm. It's creating a new neural pathway also in the brain. Because now you're not just, oh, I want to manifest more money. But when I have more money, not only can I buy X, Y, or Z that I've been wanting to buy, or go on this vacation, or travel here or there or wherever, but you could become a steward of the money. you could impact the world in a positive way with more money. And how will that make you feel? Empowered? Relieved? Confident? Grateful? All those feelings are so, so important. And you're the neural pathway expert. Talk to us about that.
One of the aspects of what Lori's saying there too is in the quantum field is quantum entanglement, and this is another piece of the attraction. So what's, as Lori mentioned, when there is the moment in time we are now, and there is a future self or a intention that we want, a destination in which we want to achieve, a goal, some, like I saw in the chat, losing weight, paying off credit cards, reading more books, those kind of things. This is something that is not in the present moment. So in other words, there is us in space and time here and now. And then there is this dream or this concept or this intention or goal that is in the future sense, in some distance, some other point in time. So if we are separate from this goal, from this point in time, and we believe such, in other words, we believe it's going to take amount of time to read 23 books, right? Or to get out of debt. If we believe that, then the current state of being and the future state of being after the achievement of our goal are separate. There's two different selves in point in time. And we have to, as Lori said, we have to bridge that gap. We have to close the gap. This is what's called dissonance between where we are and where we want to be. What we believe we are now and what we believe we could be. It's cognitive dissonance. It's something that's maybe not physically experienced. But I want you to understand it's very, very clear. Science is super clear on this, is that the body, this body that we inhabit, that I said shifts at the tune of 800,000 cells per second, does not know the difference between something that you experience in this three-dimensional world, in the space and time that you're in right now, the chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing, the existence you're having right now. The body doesn't know the difference between that and the one that you're making up in your mind. So the cool thing about those 800,000 cells per second, which are the body, by the way, and we might think that that's us. Okay, well, which us? The us that's the little voice in the head that says it's raining outside? The us that we see in the mirror as a reflection of who we think we are? Or the us to the tune of 800,000 cells per second? And the truth is, it's the 800,000 cells per second, because that's the tangible version of what's being reproduced by a genetic code, by an energetic expression of a code, a simple code, like a combination lock on your school locker. Only you knew what it was. Well, probably half your friends too, but the point is, you knew what the combination was. You could get in it. That's a code. And there is a code for every one of those 800,000 cells per second. And the influential content of this code is your thought. The other part, now that the thought is the electrical charge. Why? Because it's electricity, it's an energy flow through neural pathways in the brain, right? The moment you have a thought, it charges energy and it goes through some of the redundant neural pathways you've already created in your life because you learned content, you learned information, you know how to react to certain environmental influences. The senses take in content. You see, you hear, you feel, you taste. And the brain already has a reference point. So a thought is redundant about that experience. Okay, so this is the thought. The thought is the electrical charge. The thought of paying off your credit card bills, a thought of losing weight, a thought of the reading of the books. All of those are just thoughts. And then, of course, there's redundant circuitry in the brain to feel certain ways about that. Like, I can't do that, or that's going to take me 10 years, or I've never achieved that in my life. So who am I to think I could possibly do it now? Right? Those are all redundant circuits, I'm telling you, that in the brain that automatically fire up still the electrical charge. Okay. The other component, as Lori mentioned, is the feeling, the emotional charge. This is the body, and thought is to the brain as emotion is to the body. And the two enrich the experience of life. And the two build the intention. The two build the energetic influence on the genetic code. The two, not just one, but the two, because you have chemistry, which is emotional content, and you have electricity, which is thought content. So when you have a thought, that electrical energy in the brain has a certain frequency to it. All energy has a vibrational code, just like your genetic code. All energy has a code, and it's measured in frequency or vibration, right? The vibration of the chair you're sitting in vibrates much slower than the vibration of the thought you're having right now, because the thought is a faster, more elevated frequency. And the emotion that's contained within the body, this is the magnetic signal going out into the universe. And Lori and I were having a conversation about, the mag Healy and how it can transfer information universally, right? How it can not just be not local, but it can be non-local. So can the Healy be non-local. So can your emotions transmit outwardly into the universe. And just the same as a butterfly's flapping of their wing in one region of the planet influences weather patterns in another region of the planet, so does your emotional energetic frequency influence the attraction to your desire. So let's just break this down a minute. So if we have a thought of getting out of debt in 2023, and we start to build a plan, an intention, which is what the basic definition of an intention is: a thing intended, an aim, or a plan. All right. So we start writing that aim or that plan down. I'm going to add, I'm going to get out of debt. Okay. I'm going to add 10% to every one of my credit card bills and every payment. All right, great. So this is the thought. This is the plan. This is part of the intention. But what we got to make sure that we add to it in order to invoke motivation, to invoke dedication, and invoke some commitment, is how are we going to feel? How is the body going to feel? How do we feel, and what are we doing with no credit card debt? What will we do with the extra money? And how do you feel when you see that interest rate? How much of your payment goes to interest and how much goes to the principal? You're like, you're like, how do you feel when that doesn't happen anymore? Because even if you're not verbalizing the how it's affecting you, your subconscious is still creating chemistry in the body, and those 800,000 cells per second are still being biologically created under the influence of this code of trapped or fear, or the man's gonna make all the money because of the interest rates, or whatever the thought or whatever the belief structure is around finances and credit card debt. So we need to build an intention that has a very clear mental picture, not including the disorder. Important content here. Lori mentioned it needs to have positive content. So in other words, it doesn't say what we don't want. An intention includes only what you do want. Now, and this is another wording, and Lori's going to be the brilliance on doing this, but I don't want a disease. Well, okay, no, that's not really positive yet. I am a flourishing, healthy, abundant, vital body. Okay, now that sounds pretty positive to me. I'm not adding any of the things on the backside of my disorder. I'm only including things on the front side of my creation, of my intention. So building this model has a lot of mental content, discernible, understandable pieces to your goal, but also how you feel. What are the emotions that are going along with it? Because the mental component, remember what I said, is the electrical charge. The emotional component is the magnetic charge, drawing the experience back into your body, back into your three-dimensional space. You're no longer separate from the three-dimensional space and time you're in now and the achievement of your goal or intention. You're no longer separate. You've collapsed time and they are sitting on top of each other. And they are both potentials in this present moment. So yes, there still may be credit card debt. Yes, you may still have a few more books to read, but staying on top of how you feel on the other side of that goal, on the other side of it, staying on top of the feelings and transmitting those feelings out into the world. How do you feel? Free. How do you feel? Abundant. How do you feel? Grateful. And I love grateful. It's an amazing hack, by the way, because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. If you're grateful for something, means you already have it. And the body can start building that cell structure to show its proof. And this is how the body does it. How many of you guys have ever, I don't know, been in sports, maybe worked out before, maybe had some physical goal? You start training for an outcome and watch your body. What's it do? It gains more muscle. It gets faster. It gets stronger. It changes because you're starting to perform some aspect of your goal. And this is the epigenetic phenomenon, as how the body becomes fulfilling prophecy of the environment. Okay. So, Lori,
Ken.
do you want to do a little example?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to quickly answer Reverend Lindsay's question here. Braden points out that praying for something states a presumption of lack of the goal or thing desired. How does this fit? Well, we want to focus on we already have whatever it is. So if we want to be financially abundant, we want to be financially prosperous, we state it as if we already are. And we're putting the intention to the universe. That's who we are. That's how we exist. So we're not really praying for it. We are praying as it.
And Greg Braden does a great job of giving an example around this of an indigenous ritual in which he was with a friend and they went out, they were doing a rain dance, right? He gave this great example of this rain dance. And he was excited, thought they were going to do some great, cool rain dance thing. You know, there's going to be some tribal thing going on. And his friend just goes out in the desert, stands there for a while, does a little movement around, you know, dancing, comes back and he's done. It's like, what was that? Because I just went out and danced in the rain. That's it. I just went out and enjoyed the rain, middle of the desert. And I was in it. I was so involved. My feet were in the mud and my face was drenched with water. I was just in it. And the cool thing about that is that intention, that one little person, one piece of the puzzle within the whole universe built a strong enough signal to draw in an effect. That's it. And we typically, sadly, don't give ourselves enough credit to say how much we are actually creating this aspect called our lives. Now, we can look at all the things that are wrong, but believe me, you built all those too. It's just that it's sometimes easier to build things by default than it is by intention. Because default, we have to do nothing. But do something intentionally, we have to do something. So.
Absolutely. And Dixie asked a question now. How do you do a positive intention for the elimination of some kind of pain? We want to think of how you're going to feel when you're pain-free. What are you going to be doing when you're pain-free? This is a big one for me. I've been dealing with sciatica and I keep imagining myself out skiing and dancing and getting on the treadmill and my rebounder and doing all the things that I at the moment wasn't able to do because of the pain. So I don't imagine myself staying in that energy. I literally biohack my way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And think of all the great things I'm going to be doing and how much I'm going to enjoy moving my body, how much I'm going to enjoy being back out in nature. Well, provided it gets a little warmer here, but anyway, you get the drift. It's all about really engaging the process of imagination. I often tell my clients, children do it all the time. They daydream. So I am giving each and every one of you permission to be childlike in your daydreams again.
Now, I want to address that for a second too, because how many of you guys have struggle with visualization that actually, have a hard time picturing something? And yet, if I was to say, oh my gosh, have you ever seen an orange before? You peel this juicy orange, you take a bite and it squirts everywhere, maybe a little in your eye. What are you seeing right now? Right? This is an orange. So we don't really have a difficulty in visualizing. What I think most of the struggle when it comes to visualizing is to actually is to put an action on the table. So in other words, I can say, I want you to visualize a golf ball. Or I could say, can you feel the function of hitting a golf ball or holding a golf ball in your hand? If you were to actually put this visualization process into a functional process, like you're holding a golf ball, instead of trying to see it just in your mind, I would like you to pick up that golf ball right there on the floor, right? And what has to happen? Your mind works in pictures, by the way. And so people who say, I have a hard time visualizing, it's not so much that there's a struggle in visualizing, it's a struggle in defining more than anything else. So if we defined an action, such as being out of debt or losing weight or whatever the intention is, on the other side of that, on the other side of the obstacle, the obstacle doesn't exist. So because we're trying to visualize us without it. And yet we've lived for how many years with it. So the key thing is to be more proactive in functioning, in building some function, some action on the other side of the obstruction. Does that make sense? So I have X amount of debt and I don't know what it's like to not be in debt. So how do I visualize or create something on the other side of it? All right, make it up. How would I feel? How would I feel without a limit? How would I feel? Some people I've had this conversation, they go, well, I have never really thought about that, because honestly, most people don't give themselves permission to think outside of the limitations of their physical aspects. So if you were to give yourself a magic wand, how would you feel, or how do you want to feel on the other side of a belief that I am or I am not debt-free? I am or I am not in pain. I am or I am not able to achieve this goal. How do you feel on the other side of this accomplishment? How do you feel? And this is the using some kind of aspect of rehearsal, performing an action. So in your mind, hitting that golf ball, perfect swing, perfect smack, and you see it perfectly going out into where you want it to go. All you do is rehearse that. If you're not sure of how to create yourself on the other side of the suffering, create something you do on the other side of that suffering. So if pain is limiting you, Lori mentioned sciatica, or whatever the pain, whatever the restriction is, I can't go for a walk with my dog because of this pain, because of this limitation. So go for a walk in your mind. It costs you nothing. It requires nothing of your physical body to do so. So you do these pieces in the mind on the other side of the restriction. And the more you rehearse it, the more the mind sets the electrical charge. And then the more you feel the feeling of accomplishment, the more the emotion creates the magnetic charge. And it's going to electromagnetically create a draw from the universe into you and a signal to the genetic code to build a new version of you. Both of those together. And there are two components to every intention. The first component, very important components, two, is the thought or the intention, the creation that includes all this imagery I just talked to you about in grave detail. Now, I know it takes work. I know. And so if you want to achieve anything, it's going to require your participation. I'm sorry, Lori can't do it for you. I can't do it for you. You know, we can't go to the coffee machine and drink your coffee for you. we can't do that. So this is the point, is number one is that you have this thought and this internal creation that includes all the imagery, all the details, all the feelings, and the sense of who you are as it, and write it down. Take some time. If you really want to achieve this goal, you've got to take the time to do the diligence. Get yourself a notebook or something, write this stuff down. Number two is the act. I've been in some of you here on this call have been to some of Dr. Joe's work, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I'll tell you what, his creation of the walking, well, not his creation, but his implementation of the walking meditation is the movement of the body within the intention of the state of being. So the reason for a walking meditation is so that you can take your creation within the mind and with eyes open, navigate your environment, your world under this trance, under this influence of your creation. So you create it in your mind, in your journal. All this stuff is created. Then you go out into your 3D model, what we call the play box. Okay. We go out into the play box and we be it. Now, if someone, let me give you an example of how intently you be it. Let's say you have a handicap sticker because you've got some aspect of pain or some suffering or some limitation. Okay, it's justified. But if you use that handicap sticker as a crutch for your to lean on, your greatness is always going to be that far away. So what do you get with a handicap sticker? You get a great parking spot, right? You get certain aspects. The subconscious knows all of this. You're not fooling it one bit. And so when we constantly take advantage of this particular limitation, the body's going to believe and going to surrender into an epigenetic outcome that fits that handicap sticker. So if we're really wanting to get outside of this definition of ourselves, we can't leave any stone unturned. And one of those, I see this all the time. It's getting easier and easier to get these handicap stickers, right? And I think that if we use it as a crutch, I know it from an epigenetic and a neuroscience perspective. If we use this aspect as a crutch, then the body's always going to stay within the boundaries of that crutch, no matter how much we want something else. So the second part of this intention work is the act of being, moving the hands, the feet, in a very specific way within the 3D model, as this newly intended aspect. Okay, and I get it. Maybe the body won't work in certain ways, but do everything within its boundary, within its personal physical capabilities now to do what it is on the other side of this limit. And you'll see the body. Remember what I said? The body is an adaptive engine. It will adapt to what you ask it to do, but it has to be all of the aspects of the ask, the mental, emotional, and physical ask. Okay. All right, Lori, let's build the ask.
All right, let's build the ask. So we've got some ideas of what you're looking for. Financial abundance seems to be one that was on the top of everybody's list. So if you guys want financial abundance to be our intention for this evening, then put some hearts in the chat and let us know that's the direction we should move forward in. And meanwhile, I am going to set this group up as a client because we have a biohacking tool. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? We are in some way or another part of Healy World or wanting to be a part of Healy World, and we want to biohack. And here's the cool thing, you guys. I mean, I know setting goals and intentions can sometimes be like, oh, right, resolutions, but I'm going to ask each of you to try this year to really get at least one thing that you want to grow in, evolve in, and change in. And then I want you to use your Healy coaching module. And I want you to see the difference, because the reason resolutions don't work is that 90 to 98% of the time, people are reacting based upon subconscious programs. 90 to 98% of the time. So you can make these grandiose statements, I'm financially abundant, and then the subconscious is going, yeah, right. Who does she think she is? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Right? And then you're becoming reactive. Well, guess what? When we put this into the Healy coaching module and we find what's in the subconscious that would be preventing us from getting there, we can vibrate it out of the way or biohack it out of the way. And at the end of the year, I want us to get together in December of 2023 on our Monday Night Magic, final one of the year. And I want you to tell us how much more powerfully you were able to manifest your intentions this year. That is my goal for all of you. So I'm going to select gallery view for a second so that I can capture a lot of you in this picture. There we go. And we're intending the whole group is in here. See a lot of cameras coming on fast. I love it. Okay, cameras on. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Use photo.
I love it. I love it. I saw all the hearts, all the cameras come on, the smiles. There's smile for the camera. I love that motivation.
It was good. The only problem was I got a blue screen. So anybody who still wants their camera on, come on, you can do it because I got a blue screen on that. So, oh my goodness. Add group, take picture. All right. There we go. Use photo. Okay.
Perfect. Look at all you smiling faces.
Magic. I know. See, that's all. Next time we're going to just tell them at the get-go that we're going to actually do that. And then everybody will put their cameras on right away.
I love it. I love it. So remember what we're doing here is the moment the mind has a, like Lori says, hey, smile. Woo. How'd you feel? How'd you feel? Right? Think about that. You know, the senses take in information, this ask to turn your camera on or whatever, and then you feel a certain way. You know, smiles come on and hearts come out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to go over.
This is the power of epigenetics. Understand that you guys are doing it anyway. Anyway, the body's doing it anyway, whether you are believing it or not. Universal law, just like the law of gravity, is real. And it happens whether you believe it or not, whether you're old or young, male or female. In the quantum field, the cool thing about the quantum field is it's objective. It doesn't care about what you think. It really doesn't. It is so objective that life or death, male or female, old or young, is just information. It's just a frequency of energy. And when we tune into a certain frequency ourselves as this tuning fork, then we start to propagate different biology to the tune of what? I put it in the chat so you guys can write it down. 800,000 cells per second, right? Now, 100 trillion cells in these bodies. It's a lot of content, but still 800,000 cells per second. And if we look at what, 86,400 seconds in a day, hey, do the math. That's a lot of change in one day.
Absolutely. All right, it's going to scan for a Healy. Hopefully there's one plugged in.
Mine's plugged in. That's right. Oh, I think too far away, right?
I know it's quantum entanglement, Ken, but I'm not sure that's going to work.
Bluetooth is a little different.
Just a tad, just a tad. Okay. Fortunately, it's pulling up one that has a coaching module on it. Yay!
Love it. I love the CCs at the end.
I know, right? Got to celebrate the mini victories. That's what I always say. So now let's go. Wait.
Nope, no coaching.
Oh, goodness. Okay, never mind. Hang on. Talk to them for a minute.
Well, while you're doing that, while we're doing that, let's do a little bit of an intention. If we were writing, think about your own intention, everybody, and you're writing something out, as Lori mentioned, who you want to be at the end of 2023, or who do you want to be in 90 days? You can take small digestible chunks. And I highly recommend that we do things in small digestible chunks or even measurable chunks. When we're measuring some kind of an output or some kind of an input-output system, when we're measuring, it's very important that we set some kind of markers. Okay, so because how do you know? I do a lot of work also within nutritional coaching, and if someone is not monitoring their diet, not monitoring what they're intaking, not taking and making a meal plan and a food log, we have no idea how to measure the macronutrients or the micronutrients. We have no idea how to measure it. And so we can throw all kinds of diet plans out there, but if there's no recording of what you're doing and what your goals are, there's no, like we talked about, dissonance, the dissonance between where we are and where we want to be. That's a dissonance. It's different. It's contrast. But we can measure and start building a bridge between where we are and where we want to go. So, so like I said, writing down our intentions, taking some small steps, and then writing down some, or looking at some results. How'd I do this month? And there's when I'm talking to my kids, my daughter would tell you all the time, my daughters will tell you, I ask them two questions. Number one is, what'd you learn? And number two, what would you do different next time? So we all make mistakes, but number one, if it's a diet plan, if it's some kind of intention you're writing down, what did I learn? I learned, this was a bit too much of a bite to chew. I'm asking for too much. Okay, well, I do different next time. Well, I'll make it a smaller, more measurable, more achievable goal. All right. So let's say that you just, when it comes to reading more books, I want to read 23 books in 2023. Okay. How many is that per week? How many is that per month? And am I starting a book yet? It's important to start something, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So here we are. We want money. So I wrote this intention. So I want each of you to close your eyes and feel with your hearts what I'm about to say. Money is like air. It's everywhere. All I have to do is breathe it in. I am a magnet for money. I attract into my energy field a bounty of riches from the universe. I energetically attract the right people, opportunities, and situations that enable me to effortlessly attract this financial abundance with grace and ease. I choose to have more money than I can possibly use for myself, as this enables me to be a steward of the money and assist others in need. Abundance overflows within me and around me as I share my good fortune with humanity in ways that heal, support, educate, and empower. I am grateful that I am financially abundant, secure, and safe, feeling a peacefulness I have never known before. And this brings me great joy.
Wow, I could feel that.
Yes. So I encourage each of you to always write your intentions with the feeling so that you can trick your head to get on autopilot while you drop down 12 inches into your heart. So I would, in this situation, attract finances. I would definitely always do self-worth, and I always do emotional balance, because invariably you're going to find things in each of those categories.
You know, if you guys are not familiar with the coaching system, you'll see the little gray numbers next to each one of those database content, 445 and 212 and whatever. That means there's 212 different entities within that category. And if you pick too many things, just like if I was to tell you, you know, if we're going to tune your body up and I got 12 different diet plans I want you to try in the next week, we're not going to know exactly which one of those was effective. So we want to drill it down to the fewer things. Less is more.
Right. And I'm doing a 369. So we got 9 that we are going to look for, and just feel that abundance, feel that safety, that security in your life. Feel what I just shared with you as we run this analysis. Okay. And I always like to go up and sort these by potency. And what that does is it brings to the absolute top of the list the D, or Ds. In this case, there's only one. D is a cause. And a D 100,000 tells us this is a major, major, major life theme in the area of self-worth. I give my muscles permission to relax. I thereby release the feelings bound up in the unhealthy muscle tension and breathe them out completely and in a relaxed state of being. Now, would you ever in your wildest dreams have imagined that that would be preventing you from financial abundance? But as I always tell my clients, when you're clenched, where's the universe going to drop the abundance? When you're relaxed and open, you're receptive to receiving abundance.
There's a very distinct, clear difference in energetic patterns within the nervous system when the body is tense and clenched. The two different systems are parasympathetic and sympathetic, right? Fight or flight, or rest and digest. And there's a lot of energy being consumed when you're in that fight or flight or clenched condition. The muscles are tense. And the body is consuming energy. It's a consumer. It's no longer so much a benefit to the environment. It's a detriment, or it takes energy away from the environment. And so there's not enough energy liberated or available for an intention to prosper, grow, or mature. So this is number one, fundamental: relax.
relax. And then the next one we're looking at is in self-worth. I recognize the unconscious causes that lead me to respond to moments of happiness with guilt. It's all about deserving. People think they don't deserve. So we want to get into releasing that guilty conscience and enjoying every single moment of happiness that life brings to you. Savor the happiness fully and always free of guilt.
So what does that mean to the body? I always go back to the body because the body is the matter of the wave. It's the particle. In other words, the physical mass of the waveform or the energetic expression. And so what does that mean to the body? So if one is stuck in guilt, it doesn't matter why, whether it's because I don't deserve happiness or it is because I've done something wrong. But when the body is stuck in guilt, that's a much lower frequency vibration than joy or love. And so the body is going to be stuck in that lower vibration. It's going to be closer to density, closer to the particle. And there's not a lot of room for that matter, the mass of the body, to change very much. Right? There's not enough bandwidth, I guess you might say, within the frequency spectrum to allow for abundance. Abundance is a much higher frequency than guilt.
Absolutely. And here we are right in the area of finances. And we were intending to be stewards of the money. Well, what do you have to be a steward of the money? You have to have a compassionate heart. So there it is, spot on. I experienced the power to understand and implement the following for the benefit of the whole, to have compassion. So now the Healy is going to have the ability to shake that all loose.
And remember what's going on here. So the analysis then gives the content so that we now have an understanding, a more cognitive value, right, in our mind. So we assign meaning. Anything that we're going to be motivated to do means that we've assigned a different meaning to it. We've assigned a higher, greater value to the action. And now we're taking this content, building information to assign meaning within ourselves, within our mind, so that we can then take that meaning and move it over into motivation for action.
Absolutely. And here's again, tying it right back to the mind-body connection. In emotional balance, I recognize the unconscious causes that lead me to inhibit the flow of information in my body through chronic muscle contraction. What happens then? You suppress your feelings because it's all interconnected. So the coaching module is going to help us get to a state where your body is in optimal rhythm between expansion and contraction. Your body awareness, every cell of your body will receive the necessary information so that your feelings can be expressed in an unhindered and appropriate way.
I mentioned earlier about walking meditations, and to enter into a state of relaxation. This is what meditation is: getting rid of the senses. You're sitting in a stationary position. You've probably got some kind of music on, some nonverbal sounds that are helping to take away from any distractions of the outside world. Your eyes are closed, so the visual cortex is shut down from the organ of the eye. The visual cortex of the mind stays open because you can imagine and visualize, but the senses are down regulated. They're essentially turned off. And so that this liberates energy for the body to start to build with. Any time that you remove the consumption of energy around unserving actions or thoughts or behaviors, you give that energy to the body's healing process, because that's its natural state, by the way. You know, our bodies, the natural state of the body at the cellular level is always homeostasis. It's always balance. And when we give energy to stress, that stress response, whatever the validation is, it's completely valid. It could be, but the point is you have to take it from somewhere to give it to that stress response. And so it always comes from three of the most important systems that our body has. Number one, it takes energy away from digestion. Number two, it takes energy away from immune system. And number three, it takes energy away from the reproductive system, so that it can take that energy and put it into life-saving measures, right, in the stress response. And so these are all giving you indications that the body needs to relax. And I mentioned walking meditation. So when we put the body into a relaxed state through music, through a belief structure, through guided meditation, whatever, and Dr. Joe does a great job of this. And then we open the eyes and we walk as if that future state, or we walk within the trance. You know, our eyes are still seeing certain things, but we can shift what the eyes are seeing in terms of the mental picture. So I've done this many times. In a walking meditation, I could be in the midst of a city, hustle and bustle. And yet in my mind's eye, I can be in whatever creation I want. I could be in the mountains. I could be on a beach. I can be wherever I want to be, because I'm making that mental picture of my future self in my mind. Okay. So now I'm teaching my body how to biologically exist in a three-dimensional space, yet create an internal state that feeds my intention. It's just training, guys. I'm not saying you're going to be good at it right out of the chute, and that's okay. There's the reason that these pro ball players practice is so they get good at it. And pretty soon they're making all the big bucks, right? Because they're so good at it. So same with us, practice.
And when you are in that future state, you can't help but be feeling it. And so here you are out walking in let's just say a city, a chaotic city, and you're imagining yourself in the mountains, relaxing in your new revitalized state. You're feeling it. And so now you're sending out into the chaos of the third dimensional city you're in, the vibration of attracting only the pieces from that chaotic place that are in alignment with your future self. How beautiful is that?
Sounds easy, doesn't it? Well, it takes practice. It is actually a simple process, not necessarily easy, but it is a simple process. And the body is just literal. It's just literal.
Absolutely.
And so just keep doing it over and over again, and you'll see how much more natural it becomes. Our state of chaos and disorder right now, whatever it might be in the body. I heard someone talk about overcoming pain. This pain or this disorder has been practiced so long that it seems to be the natural state of us, but it's not. The natural state of us, as I mentioned, is homeostasis. That's the natural state. We've practiced knocking that out of balance. And then the body simply responds by showing you in kind, AKA pain.
We
right,
don't know.
Now
Nobody got no time for more of that pain.
No.
Okay, that's what my yoga teacher, Adrienne, says these days. Ain't nobody got no time for that ouchiness. So we're going to show a different way. Emotional balance in living consciously. This is the key, guys. I am living consciously. I select optimally to which circumstances and situations I direct my consciousness in order to subsequently act consciously in the best possible way when it is necessary. Stuff's going to happen. Life's going to occur. Issues are going to arise. The people upstairs might have a dog that's peeing on your deck. I mean, that happens. Literally, that happened today. But it's how you react to it that makes all the difference in the world. all the difference.
As I mentioned earlier, you may be very well justified in a pity party or in a full-on come apart or in becoming a hot mess. You could be completely justified in all of that. But the problem is, remember I said the body's literal. 800,000 cells per second will get on board with that hot mess and create a biology, a body that reflects that energetic signal. And what this system is doing, what the coaching module is doing, is it's now showing you, it's creating a dissonance of where you are and where you should be. And from the quantum field, from the objective observer, it's going to build a bridge. And the bridge is the vibrational ability for this system to send out frequencies, or I should say energy at a very specific vibrational rate to build that bridge. And it does it non-local, it does it universally, and the body responds. So this biohack that we have, not only do we need to take responsibility ourselves, I mean, literally, that's where the buck stops right here, is we take responsibility for ourselves. And whether we're justified in the chaos or not, we start to get away from it. And we also use our biohacking tool here to vibrate these frequencies into our field. A win-win.
Gotta love it when a plan comes together. All right, in self-worth, basics of self-esteem. I realize and develop self-efficacy. At all times, I have adequate control over my activities and over my life. You guys get to choose. You're going to do it one of two ways, either consciously or unconsciously. So if you want to fall into old subconscious programs and just react versus staying conscious and saying, I may not like this, but how do I want to react to it? How do I choose to react to it? What do I want to put out to the world in this very moment? Because if you are reactive to things that are bothering you, you're putting out angst energy, which is low vibrational. Guess what? It attracts like things. You're going to attract more angst.
This is that whole magnetic, the feeling is a magnetic signal drawing like energy to it. This is laws of physics that there is a match between your magnetic signal and the universe's magnetic signal. And so what happens is it seems like it's just my life, but the reality of it is a magnetic match to how you're transmitting in from the inside, the emotions. So that the universe, the outside world, gives you causation, gives you evidence to feel that same feeling. So the feeling you're transmitting, the universe starts to build a model in the play box to show you reasons to feel the same way. So now it's a match. The outside world, the inside world are matching vibrationally. And this is simply, we don't think we're causing, I didn't cause that accident. How did I possibly cause that person to run that stop sign and run into me? It's because my vibrational match, or the vibrational state inside of me, was in lack, was in default mode. And if we're not creating by purpose, by intention, then we're still creating by default, no matter what. So understand that everything that we're drawing in is a match to our internal frequency. Change that frequency and you'll change what you draw in.
Law of the universe. That's simple. All right, in finances, the following professional theme is optimized. Great project partners. Woohoo! Perfect for a network marketing company. Oh, I have a close and constructive relationship with my project partners. The joint results are outstanding. We appreciate and cherish each other. That is what I love so much. Not only are we going to attract them, but we appreciate and cherish each other. Those are the people we want to attract, the people that we really can appreciate and cherish.
I was having a
Oh.
conversation earlier with a friend of mine. We're talking about relationship, and I feel that, you know, in terms of relationship, I think a better definition would be partnership. As we build partnerships, whether it be intimate, whether it be friend or business, as we build partnerships, it sounds more like an interactive state of being, where it's a give and take, where it is an evaluation of the outside person and the inside person, and then we build bridges. Partnership. I love that word.
Partnership. Yep. All right. An emotional balance. I am living consciously. I recognize the strategies of my fears with which I try to suppress my awareness.
So there's a great question here about the percentages, and the numbers we see there, the percentage, the 3, and then the letters designate aspects of how this is influencing our lives. 79% is the relevancy. If it's, say, 25% relevant, means it's still present in our life, but not so active. I like to really focus on anything that's above 50% for sure. But the percentage is its intensity. How active and how influential is it in our lives, this particular piece of content? And then 3 is a scale of 1 to 10. So we have relevance as the percentage. 3 of 1 to 10 is intensity. How big of an influence it's having. And then the LM is whether it be physical, emotional, or mental, or spiritual, I should say. And LM is the spiritual side. So this is how we read this.
Right. And keep in mind, everyone, we did this for a broad group of people here. So you're gonna see a wider variance in these numbers like we are tonight. If it's a smaller group, or a group like with my group coaching programs, people who are working collectively week after week on the same intentions, you're going to see much tighter comparisons. And when you're doing it for yourself as well, so you won't see quite as much variance. This is the most powerful module in the Healy, and it's the most complex.
Yeah, it reveals the most intricate bits of content. It also leaves some room for interpretation. So using one's intuition is a good, and I feel like it's a very good idea when you get a reading and you're just doing it on yourself, is also to bounce it off a friend or someone that knows you, just so you can kind of get a second perspective. There's a question in there about what does the negative percentages mean? This means that it's present but not active. Present but not active. It's in the negative. It's present but not active. More subconscious than conscious. More subliminal is what the negative stuff tends to mean. Okay.
So fear or love, which are you going to lead with? That's what that's essentially saying. Recognize the strategies of your fears. You get to choose. Come from a place of fear or come from a place of love. And last but not least, the following professional theme is optimized: a sense of security. And this is an LM 10,000 that's giving us a minor life theme here. So creating that sense of security is what this financial abundance can help us do. So we're going to give you a yummy little treat. You get to sit back for a few minutes and just take in these frequencies.
And remember, this is for the group. So everybody collectively created this analysis. So everybody collectively gets to now be aligned by this frequency system.
So just breathe for a few minutes.
If you take a look at the readings here, what's in green, highlighted in green, this essentially is the intention. What you should be doing, what you should be recognizing, what you should be understanding. What is your new learning and new awareness? And just practice.
And breathe.
Take notice of your body. What do you feel? Where do you feel it? Even the subtleties. Pay attention. Refrain from thought. Breathe in and breathe out. And allow the body to relax. And feel the subtleties these frequencies bring to you. You're an intricate part of the puzzle of the universe. This is important for you too. Deep breaths. Slow breaths. Allow for that relaxed state. Wow. Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I felt like just this relaxation come into my shoulders and felt kind of yummy.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And pay attention to the body over the next several hours or even days, because there's a couple of components here. One, you have new knowledge, new information. And the moment the mind realizes a bit of information, it upregulates the nervous system in an instant. The speed of light, an aha moment. How long did it take you for that aha moment to be realized? Instantly, right? But for the biology, the muscles, the cells, the systems, the organs, to upregulate that content takes a little more time. This is where the practice comes in. So let's practice writing out an intention that has feeling. Let's practice looking at a behavior, an action, some experience. Maybe you haven't had the experience yet, but you could put it into your mind. The safe place, the think box, is the safe place for creation, right? The play box is out there in the 3D plane of demonstration. That's where it's scary, right? But inside the mind is the safe place to build. So write it out, build it in the mind, and then let's go out there into the plane of demonstration and show each other what that looks like.
Absolutely. And when you're doing this for yourself, feel free to really play around with the length of time you run it. You know, you don't necessarily, you guys are all veterans. You don't need to only run it for a couple of minutes. I did that for sake of time this evening, but start with 26 minutes, see how you feel. The next day, go up to an hour, see how you feel. Next day, maybe go up to 2 hours, see how you feel. So what do I mean, see how you feel? If it's too much, you'll be overly emotional. If it's too much, you're going to want to run the gem elixirs and the flower essences and rebalance and in the power of three and the soul cycle programs. You're going to want that gentle rain coming down on your emotions.
Allow time, and some of the shifts and the changes in the body that we experience. Listen to your body, as Lori said. It could be emotions, out of the blue, tears or anxiety of some sort, some angst. It also could feel like aches and pains, right? Detox or cleansing of the body. Have you ever had a deep tissue massage? Have you ever done a detox of some sort? If you're not properly getting rid of that emotional baggage, that chemistry, it's going to come back into the cells, into the muscles and the large joints, and you're going to feel it. So hydration, self-care protocol is critical here. As we are doing this work, as you're creating your intentions, as you're building this emotional state, please pay close attention to your self-care protocol. And let me share you. I'd like to share with you my protocol, my basic protocol. Number one is hydration, making sure that your body's properly hydrated. And that means at a minimum, half your body weight in ounces of water every day. Okay. Number two, breathe. Full, expanded breaths, slow. Take your time. Take in a breath as if it were a comfortable massage or a shower or something you so love and enjoy. Take in that breath slowly, smoothly, and fully, and then let it go. Relaxing the body on the exhale and allowing the pull on the inhale. Okay. Number three, movement. Movement is so critical because that is what moves the lymphatic systems to detox and release. And when I say movement, it's long, elongated, full movements, yoga, stretching, dancing, walking, rolling around on the floor, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be difficult. Just allow that movement. Okay. Number four, grounding. Grounding is super important. Okay. Grounding allows us to now settle in and let the earth take some of the burden of our body, to finding a reference point, back to the reference point of the earth, Mother Earth in which we live on, right? It's a big part. And if it's cold in your environment, you don't want to go walking around outside in the snow, that's okay. You can get grounding mats that plug into the circuitry of your house that uses earth ground, by the way. The earth ground of your home or your apartment or your structure is created a electrical or an electron flow pathway right to earth ground, right? And when you plug into it and you lay on it, sit on it, wrap it around you, then you're grounded. And lastly, number five, my favorite, I think, is to find a reason to fall in love with life. Just find some aspect of life to fall in love with and have a courtship, a romantic experience, an intimate moment with life, falling in love all over again, right? So take those 5 pieces, build them into your routine, and see how that helps to increase the effectiveness of what we're doing.
And wait and watch. By running one of these programs overnight for 8 hours, you're going to wake up the next day. And you're going to literally find yourself reacting differently to normal, ordinary things in your life. It'll be kind of like you'll be looking behind you going, who just said that? Who just did that? Because this shakes up what's in the way. It gets the crap out of the way to allow in all the wonder and joy that you're all really, really, really wanting and ever so deserving of.
Absolutely. I see a comment in the question, the comments here, asking what kind of water filters or anything about water. What we believe about the water is going to be true. Okay, so what I like to call the placebo effect, or on the other side of that, the nocebo effect. There are chemistries to water. And so filtration systems are a great idea. But if you believe that a water it has a certain aspect about it, it will be true for you. This is plain and simple truth of the body. If you drink the most contaminated water and yet have a belief structure of its influence that is not detrimental, then it won't be. I mean, there are studies to show how humans work themselves up into such a state of defense. They can be bitten by venomous snakes, and the chemistry of the body will repel it, and it will not have an influence on the biology. This is just the ability to create a state of being. And the better we get at that, the better our body is going to perform the act. So, but I personally love filtered water. And I drink filtered water. I don't really say one's better than another. Whatever you believe in, whatever your research project results are, that's what I say.
Let's not forget,
You can put the frequencies in the water.
Meg Healy has a whole program category to put positive, amazing frequencies into your water. And man, I did it the other day, and whew,
There's
it tasted different. They aren't kidding. It really does taste different.
Yeah. I did a little demonstration in my private group on how to put the frequencies into water using the electrodes, the sticky pads, and the Healy itself without the Mag Healy. The Mag Healy is very effective, but I did a little demo. My intention has been to get that recording on YouTube and show you guys how to do that. I will get it. And of course, everybody that's here, I believe, is on the mailing list for Lori. I'll make sure. Actually, I posted that on our group page. Lori, you saw that. And I used just a couple of simple household butter knives and the sticky pads, everything you already come with in your Healy to actually put frequencies in the water. Yeah.
That's really good. Please, let's share that with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Wow.
Yes, and a huge shout out to all you ladies who were saying this was like my group coaching program and that you love it so much. I am starting another one, a winter session on February 21st. So if anyone's asking, spread the word, because guess what? I love these programs. It's like, I love working with Ken. I love doing Monday Night Magic, and I equally love doing the group coaching programs because it's magical. I don't have kids. I get to watch all of you wonderful people evolve and grow and have an extended family. So much love to all of you. We will see you next month, second Monday of the month. And we will look forward to it. And feel free to shoot out any ideas, suggestions, things you want to take a deeper dive into. We're here for you. These programs are for you. And we want to make sure that you're getting the value. So let us know how we can best serve you.
I love serving all of you. Big love to you guys.
Oh, huge love. And thank you, Ken, for being such an amazing co-host. I love you so much.
Thank you, Lori. Big loves. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.